welcome to Fruity Knitting. I'm in Copenhagen with Carolina Skogård-Bentzen, who is the designer behind Aegyo Knit. So after Carolina completed her master's degree in comparative literature, she decided to change fields and become a hand knitting designer. And her brand, Aegyo Knit, quickly became popular on Instagram, particularly for its relaxed urban style, with her designs often featuring bold patterns and unusual constructions. So Carolina, we are really thrilled to have you on Fruity Knitting. Thank you so much for meeting us here in Copenhagen.
Well, you're welcome, and I'm very happy to be here.
Okay, so let's start with maybe you filling out the story of how and why you became a hand knitting designer, and also explain the meaning behind your name, Aegyo Knit.
Yeah, well, I began picking up knitting again when I got my kids, actually, and I just made these small things like small hats and sweaters, and it was not a big deal. But then I started knitting for myself. I actually started off with a sweater for myself, a no-frill sweater by Petite Knit, and then that just became like the rabbit hole for me. And then I started using knitting as a de-stressing hobby when I studied. So while I was studying, I used knitting for me to de-stress.
Yeah.
So while I was studying from comparative literature, that was my way of relaxing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you worked for a well-known designer. Who was that?
I worked for Lene Holme Samsø, quite well-known Danish designer, actually. And she taught me so much in a very, very short amount of time. Techniques, how to grade a pattern, and like just an inside view into how does it work to be like a pattern designer, and what sort of everyday life is it to be like.
And were you working in a yarn store? Was it her yarn store? Or?
No, she's just pattern designer, and she has written quite a few books as well, but only in Danish and Norwegian. So that was really amazing for me and a great opportunity to have. Yeah. So, but later that year, I had to undergo like a biopsy for breast cancer, and it was like in December, of course. And while this was going on, and I had to wait for those answers, I really took up knitting even more than I had before, and I got really creative during this really difficult period of time. So it was at this time I got together with my mom, and we started talking over creative ideas, and then I really told her of this idea, which were a knitted dress actually, and I really wanted to do something with cables and really big signature details, and that's when we made Aegyo dress.
And that's what we've got here on the table. Yeah. And that became an instant success on Instagram, didn't it?
It really did. And I was not prepared at all for it. But it really prompted many messages in my inbox and people asking for a pattern, actually. Yeah.
Just quickly, for our viewers, just go over the main details.
Well, the most eye-catching detail is this cable details that goes all the way from up to down, and I really wanted this signature cable here right in the middle to like be the eye-catching detail. And then I also wanted it to have like this open sides, so it wasn't sewed together all the way down, but had like this split detail. Yeah. And my mom helped me with constructing that. And then it has like this big, what do you call it, puffy sleeves,
yes.
Yeah, with this signature cable as well. So it really became the first thing in the Aegyo family, sort of.
Yeah. Okay. And then you got your results back?
Yeah, I wasn't sick, and but it was a really life-changing moment for me, because this process of being so scared and so confronted with how fragile life is, I really felt like I needed to be more risk-taking in my, what should I call it? I really felt like this made me happy. and I really wanted to pursue it, and I did.
Okay, and then I think this was your second design.
Yeah.
This was also an instant success, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So say something about this design.
Well, this is Aegyo, or Hol, you could say in Korean. But once again, I really want to do something new, and I wanted to, turn things upside down. That's why the pattern is at the bottom. And when I shared it first time on Instagram, it went absolute viral. I couldn't keep up with the demands, and I just knew I had to pursue this idea with making patterns even more. So that really prompted me as well.
Yeah, okay. And then you had to come up with a name.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, Aegyo is Korean, and it's a South Korean phenomenon where you actually put on a really cute display and you play really sweet and...
A display of affection?
Yeah, affection and youthful, and both men and women does it, but mostly women. But it was something I really want to bring in, because I really love this way of being playful and youthful, and I also want to stress out a bit rebellious in the name as well. And then I had to bring in the Korean as well, because I'm married to a South Korean man. And the first time we traveled to South Korea, I felt absolutely in love with the city Busan. And the style and the people. It's very urban, it's very young, and the style as well.
Yeah,
so I really want to bring it in.
I have a friend who was working in Seoul, and he was describing how some of the women, they would put in contact lenses to make their eyes as light or lighter than mine, and then they would wear glass frames with no glasses in. So that's sort of an example of this urban, playful, it's really obvious I'm wearing glasses as a fashion statement.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of, it's childlike rebellious, isn't it?
Definitely childlike. Yeah. And, I really want to make patterns that did something like that. It had to be fun. Mm-hmm. Knitting should be fun, and so should the patterns. And I really felt like after this really dark time in my life, I really needed this. I wanted to play and do this youthful, celebration kind of. Yeah.
And your mother is supporting you behind the scenes. So what role does she play in the design process? Yeah,
well, my mom, she has taught me everything I can with knitting. And then she's this really, really skilled natural knitter, and she has this really Danish, intuitively way of going into a knit. She rarely uses a pattern. She just makes things up as she goes. Yeah. And she's like, well, if that doesn't work, I'll just do something else. And she's very intuitive. Mm-hmm. So whenever I get stuck in something, or I have an idea or something, I will just turn it over with her, and she will come up with her
some kind of technical
solutions, anything. She's really, really skilled. So when I get stuck, she's there to help me out or come up with.
And is she like a sounding board as well to all of your creative ideas?
Yeah, and that's quite a lot. Yeah. So she's also the one who says, when it's too much, or when I have too many ideas, because there's really, really many ideas all the time.
Yeah. And obviously part of being a designer, takes up a lot of your time, is organising the test knitters. Yeah. Does she help you with that?
Yeah, she helps me. Yeah, I often create these test groups on Instagram for my testers to communicate. And then she helps me along with that, because she's so technical skilled, so she's always able to help me out.
That sounds brilliant. I think there's other designers out there that really wish they had a mum like yours. Yeah. Okay, now, Danish knitwear fashion does tend to be, say, minimalistic and timeless. So I'm just wondering how you combine that kind of simplicity, but with a standout factor to make your designs recognisable as Aegyo knit. So can you say something about your aesthetic?
Well, yes, Danish modern knitwear is often stocking knit stitch, simple constructions, more basic colors, and I really want to be more rebellious in my patterns. I really want to turn it upside down. I want it to be more bold in colors and constructions, and especially textures as well.
So that plays into the South Korean sort of rebellious, doesn't it? Yeah,
and this youthful, playful way of going into it, you know. So that's something I feel I have tried to incorporate in the way of me thinking of a new pattern and get it done, you know. Yeah.
And a lot of your designs seem to be quite oversized. So why does that appeal to you?
Well, oversize is a really great way of layering. Here in Scandinavia, it's necessary. But it's just not oversized for me. I really pay a lot of attention to details so that it will be fitted, you know. I keep it a bit more fitted on the top, and then I will go into the details about the waist and perhaps make ribbing, or decrease, and to like make it more fitted. So it's still oversized, but it's not just 5 sizes too large.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, definitely, because otherwise you will look slouchy.
Yeah.
And the front really has to. I often make the front a little less longer than the back, so that you can tuck it into like a high waist trouser or jeans or something like that.
And so I think you do a few sideways constructions. Say a little bit about that and what other kinds of techniques are exciting you right now.
Yeah, well, I really like the sideways technique because it allowed me to challenge myself, and I could turn the patterns to be horizontal, you know, and I had to rethink how to make the body when you come from the sleeve and you have like no stitches here. And my mom played a very important role in that as well. And for the future, I really want to play around more with textures. I really have this thing for reversed side stranded knitting.
Oh, okay, so the back side of the wrong side of stranded knitting.
Yeah, exactly. I really have a thing for it right now, and I want to play more with it. Can't say when. And then textures in the yarns. Boucle yarn is a yarn I really like at the moment.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you about fibres and yarns, because really part of designing a garment is choosing the right yarn that will show off the garment. So what are your favourite fibres and yarns?
I mainly use Scandinavian yarns. For example, Især yarn, Gepard yarn. Then we have Hjelholt Uldspinneri, which is the oldest
spinning
mill we have in Denmark. And they make these really scratchy, rough textured yarns.
You like that?
I really like that. It has this texture and it's durable, and I really like that in a garment, that you can use it for many years to come.
Yes,
actually.
It is very durable.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do like fiber blends as well. You know, fiber blends that has alpaca or linen, because I really like to get these drapey feels in some of my patterns for this more sophisticated
flowing.
Yeah.
And it's true, when the heat of the body can sort of make it even stretch even more with a little bit of alpaca or linen, can't it?
Yeah.
And you like that?
Yeah. I do. Yeah.
So Carolina has brought along some designs to show us, which we're excited about. So let's have a look at them now and just talk about their special features.
Yeah. Well, this is Aegyo's sweater, and it's knitted in a yarn in Aran weight on a needle 5 to 6 millimeters. And this is a very good example of my sideways patterns, where you start off here with the sleeve and you go in the round all the way up until here on the body, where you cast on stitches, and then you work all the way through, all the way until you need to go in the round again on the sleeve.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is really, really a popular pattern, and it really surprised me as well, because it is a challenging pattern, and you really have to put your faith into that the pattern is Correct. Yeah. So it surprised me that it got so popular that it did.
Yeah, because you can't adjust anything as you go. Once you've set it up here, you can add on stitches, but then you just got to trust it all the way through. Yeah. It's gorgeous. And it's got a split hem here.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay. So that's that one. And this one, which is incredibly bright. Yeah. What's the name of this one?
This is Popo sweater, and Popo does mean kissing in Korean.
Oh, how cute.
It's inspired by the color, of course. But it's top down. It has these raglan details here, and it's, I think, double mustache.
Yes.
Yeah. So this got hugely popular because of the color. This bright, bold pink was really, really like throwing people off when I shared it the first time on Instagram. And it surprised me a bit because I really felt that this was a bold choice. But now I see this. When every time
it was the selling point for it.
This was the selling point, and every time people was going to make it, they were asking for the color and the exact yarn. And it's actually made from 2 strands of yarns. And one of the yarns is this fiber blend with alpaca. So it will be a bit drapey because of the mustache, of course, is stretchy, but the yarn as well will drape on you, like get this drapey, slightly oversized feel when you wear it.
Yeah, and it comes down to the sort of high hip, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, great.
So this is Yule sweater, and it's worked top down. And it's quite fitted here on the top of the neck. And then you have like these increases going down the shoulders. And you are doing it on every round to like make it fall really fast down your shoulder. And you can see that it's really, really wide. Yeah. So people often get confused about the measurements, but it is really wide. But I really want to make this drapey feel of it, and then you have the pattern down in the bottom, and one of the things I really liked about Yule is that, you know, the dominant color, I did it kind of opposite, you know. Usually you would have the light colors as the dominant, but I switched it around so the pattern wouldn't get as sharp looking. It had to have like this soft, almost
faded look.
Yeah.
So what you mean is that when you're knitting, standard knitting, you often have the dominant colour on the right, so it stands out more, and you've done it the opposite. You've put the motif colour of the herringbone in the left.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Because I really like that feel of it. And then you have the tweed yarn working really, really nicely with this grading, I think.
So just a question, how does someone pick the correct size for them? Do they go for the neck size, or how wide should the body be compared to their own body? How much positive ease is there?
Well, that was really, really difficult for me to like give the correct guidelines for, because, you know, this is actually 140 centimeters on upper width, and you know, my mom, who's quite large on the top part,
around the chest,
she can wear this as well, and it looks actually really, really great on her. So I have made some guidelines on how to choose the right size in the pattern. But
essentially, you're saying you can't go wrong, because if you wear this and you look good, and your mum wears it and she looks good, it's really only the length of the sleeve that you're adjusting.
Yeah, there are 2 sizes in the pattern, and the other one is bigger or larger than this one. So essentially, if you fit in the small one and you have like at least 10 centimeters, I would definitely recommend the smaller size.
Okay.
And that's how it works.
And then adjust the sleeve size.
Yeah, exactly. Or the length as well, because of course I'm not that tall. So yeah.
Okay, and this was really popular, this design.
It really was, yeah.
Okay, this is very interesting. If I look like this, you think it might be a pair of stockings or for a very skinny child, but it's not. No. So it's very interesting. It's a neck and sleeves, essentially. So describe it and Yeah.
Yeah, well, I wanted to do like a bolero or something like that. You know, I hadn't seen it in hand knitting before or as a pattern, and I really wanted to play around with that. And, you know, I really wanted to make, it shouldn't just be like this cut-off blouse for me. I had to make an interesting detail. And this was the first time I really worked with this crisscrossing, where you pick up stitches. When you have made the first front piece, you pick up stitches and make the other sleeve. And it's the same on the back as well. So it's top down, of course. And then you have like this half fisherman rib as well. And people has asked me every time they start on the pattern, they're like confused. Is this the wrong side out? And I'm like, well, for some people it's the wrong side out. But for me, this half fisherman's rib, I really like this side out.
So there's two sides to it. There's this one and this one. Yeah. And you're like, well, this one's sort of more bobbly, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. It has these soft curves, and this is more edgy.
Tighter. Yeah.
And I really liked these more curved stitches, like.
And then you've got, how does the sleeves work? Because this is quite tight.
Yeah. I really wanted to do like this drapey feel. So when you have like these long cuffs, your sleeves are very long. Mm-hmm. So when you wear it, they will fall down over like this when you wear it.
So it'll look like that on your hand.
Yeah, and I really like that because it has like this interesting detail and it does this sort of drapey feel to it. So you won't see this long cuff when you wear it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, after the Nare crop sweater, I developed a variation of it because I really wanted to do like a cape or vest, sort of with this same detail with kind of crisscrossing opening. But at this time, I closed off the back, so it only opens here in the front. And I continued with this half fisherman rib, which I really, really like. And you can see the stitches even more on this pattern, actually, because it's a larger stitch, of course.
Is this not a yarn held double, is it?
No, this is one-stranded yarn, and it's a blow yarn, kind of. It has cotton in it and alpaca. It gets quite drapey and a bit heavy. I think mostly because of the half fisherman's rib, because you know there goes a lot more yarn when you knit in this. And you've got splits on the sides. Yeah.
And it goes down to, is that what, just below the waist or upper hips?
I would say upper hips. I have seen people make it even longer, and I really like the look of that as well.
Okay. Yeah. So why do you think this one was really popular? Because this was also a very popular design.
It really, really was. I think it's the detail here with this open splitting. You know, people hadn't seen it before, and I hadn't seen it before, actually. So it was this interesting detail. And of course, it has no sleeves. And I sense people would really like to slip easy past that part.
Yeah. If they don't have to knit sleeves, then that's a good thing.
But overall, it's a fun pattern, you know. There's something going on all the time. This is not your television knitting. This is for fun, and this is trying out new techniques and such.
Yeah. Okay. So we have to talk about what you're wearing, because that's really gorgeous. But that's not published yet, is it?
No, this is Jeju sweater.
What's the name again?
Jeju sweater.
Jeju. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that Korean?
Yeah, that's Korean. It's an island down in South Korea, and it's very well known for its cherry blossom trees in the spring. And of course, I had to call it Jeju because of the colors. This very, very sweet blossom pink, and then this green color going into it. But of course, now fall is coming, so I will have to make it in
a fall color, autumn colors.
Autumn colors. And it's quite white, you know, because I like that. And it has this, do you call it twisted rib?
Yes, twisted. So it's a purl 2 and twist 1 knit stitch, which is really quite effective, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so it's similar to the yawl sweater.
Yeah.
But the pattern's a little bit higher.
It's a bit higher, and you don't have it on the sleeves. for practical reasons, and of course to like get the sleeves more fluid or flowy.
Yeah, flowing.
Yeah.
And is it top down?
It's top down. You start on the back and then you pick up stitches and then you gather your work down here. When you have done the holes for the sleeves, you have to pick up and such. So yeah.
And the yarn, is that 2 strands held together? Yeah,
this is from Ito yarn, 1 strand of kino, which is pure silk, and then 1 strand of sensai. I think it's silk mohair and silk. So this is very summerish and flowy and
it's
grey.
Beautiful. I think this one's going to be another major success as well, for sure.
I really hope so, because I think it has something to it, and you just have to see it in some autumn colours, because hopefully it will arrive soon.
Yeah, okay, it's gorgeous. Now, what I wanted to get onto is that it's been very interesting spending some time here in Denmark and also interviewing some Danish designers and yarn producers. And despite Denmark's relatively small size, its thriving knitting community is really supporting a lot of very successful Danish hand knitting designers. And I find that very interesting because, to my knowledge, I think there are more well-known Danish hand knitting designers than, for example, German hand knitting designers. But the German population is 83 million and Denmark is not quite 6 million. So the German population is 14 times the size of Denmark. That's a really interesting phenomenon. So as an insider, what insights can you offer into this remarkable success?
So we have always had like this really strong knitting culture in Denmark. For example, we have like Marianne and Helga Isager, and then there's Crystal Seyfarth as well.
That's true, and Bente Geil and Vivian Herxbro, they're sort of the older generation, big names, well recognised internationally.
Yeah, definitely. But then like 8 years ago, we had Petit Knit coming onto the scene, and it's like, it really changed the way of looking into hand-knitted knitwear. She really came on and made this hand-knitting modern again, like for a younger generation. She was combining family life with this slow craft.
Slow fashion.
And she really changed the scene as this social media influencer. Yeah, she did. Yeah.
And her designs, they're very simple, aren't they?
Yeah, they are quite simple often. She does sometimes do something really bold, but she has this really simple constructions and she made them really beginners friendly.
Yeah.
So at that point, she also got like this huge new base of knitters who hadn't knitted before.
Okay, so she brought a lot of people into the craft.
Yeah, it really, really got huge at that point. So now we have an even larger community of knitters supporting other Scandinavians, designers and so forth.
Okay, so those knitters that started with petite knits, do they just keep looking inside of Denmark for further knitting inspiration?
Yeah, I think that's how it does evolve, because when you have done petite knit, you will look to other designers within Denmark to keep on this pattern style of writing as well.
Okay, yeah. That's really interesting. And she's such a trendsetter, isn't she?
Definitely, yeah. As a petite knit, when she uses a certain yarn or construction or anything like that, it will echo through. Often when she has used a certain yarn, it will go sold out very quickly as well. So, but you will see it often echo through to other Danish designers or Scandinavian designers as well. And she does something.
Okay, so she does something and then other designers just pick up that element and repeat it in a way.
Yeah, sort of. But of course, it's because there's something with the trend and the fashion. She has this really, really, immaculate way of just seeing what the next trend is, I think.
Okay, that's very interesting. So would you say then that the majority or the main customer base for Danish designers is within Scandinavia?
Yeah, definitely.
And that's the case for you too?
Yeah, it is.
That's really unusual. That's very interesting to hear. Because another thing is that Danish knitters and designers, like you said, seem to think more intuitively about their knitting, and that does result in a different style of pattern writing.
Yeah.
And when we were talking before, you said that you became aware of that and you had to adjust your own pattern writing style just to accommodate a more international customer base. So I found that really fascinating. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, well, one of the first times I really realized that there were a difference, that was when I bought my first Lane magazine. And I had this idea I had to make a certain pattern, and then I read it through, and then the pattern was so overwhelming for a knitter like me, because Scandinavian patterns are very intuitive and
just 2 paragraphs.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and even though it was a pattern I would be able to make, I gave up because of the overwhelming information in the pattern. It became too much for me, actually. And now when I get my own patterns translated, it was really a steep learning curve, because when my patterns are translated from Danish to English, then when I receive it back, I almost can't recognize it. You know, there's so much information added. Schematics, measurements, stitch counts, charge.
Extra diagrams and things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have even experienced a pattern going from 6 pages to like 18 pages when it came back. So it's a huge difference on how to think knitwear and how to go into a pattern, and really kind of overwhelmed me a bit. But it's been really learnful to
that is so interesting. So why do you think Danish knitters are happy with less information?
It's a good question, because I think we are just more intuitive, and then we don't have like the same vocabulary about knitting. One of the things that surprised me were that there's like a whole vocabulary within the English-speaking knitters that we don't have. We don't have certain words for things you do. We just do it, you know. There's no like term.
So do you think the general knowledge of how to knit is just more known? Like,
yeah,
do you think
especially for the elder generations. Mm-hmm. We are seeing the younger generation being a bit more aware that they want some more information, and it is coming. But we are definitely more intuitive in our knitting.
Okay, so in the past, you would learn knitting pretty well from a parent or a grandmother or an aunt or a cousin. And so you learn all those basics and you don't need to see them in a pattern. No. You just do it.
Yeah.
Okay, that is so interesting. It's a very interesting experience, and it's been really fascinating to hear from an insider's perspective, because I have noticed that difference and really wondered why.
Yeah.
And so that's very interesting to hear. So it's been great to have you on Fruity Knitting. Yeah. Thank you for sharing your time with us and showing us your designs, and we wish you the best of success. It's been fantastic to have you.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure. Yeah.
Let's say goodbye to the viewers.
Yeah.
Bye.
잘 돼 이럴 줄은 몰랐는데 네가 다른 사람 만나도 괜찮을 것 같은데 넌 울고 있는데 난 딴 생각을 하는 게 지금도 난 사실 바빠서 가야 할 것 같은데 쌓여있는 조종의 더미 사이에 편지들 사진들 어딘가 껴져 있었는데 너무 오래 방치해둔